As Olivia Carter entered the family's luxurious living room, she remained calm, despite the storm of emotions from her family. Her older sister Sarah was pacing back and forth, her voice filled with anger. "Are you throwing everything away? The company, the future, everything Dad built?" Her parents, Jonathan and Eleanor Carter, stood near the fireplace, their eyes filled with disappointment and anger. Jonathan clenched his wineglass, his voice low but sharp. "Backpacking around Europe? Is this how you repay us for what we gave you?" At 30, Olivia knew she was about to teach her family a lesson about the difference between appearance and reality. She leaned back slowly on the sofa, feeling the tension in the room. "The tech department needs me," Sarah continued loudly. "I can't leave it for some meaningless adventure." Olivia almost laughed. The technology division Sarah was talking about was the one she had worked so hard to build over the past 4 years, turning a small business into the Carter Group's strongest growth engine. But to Sarah, it was still just a part of the family empire she wanted to take over. "I've already submitted my resignation," Olivia replied softly. "Everything has been handed over." Eleanor exclaimed in panic. "Olivia, this is not just paperwork, this is a responsibility to the family." "Your flight leaves tomorrow morning?" Olivia stood up, her voice resolute. Her father stared, his voice like ice. "Oh. If you walk out this door, don't expect any support, no more trust funds, no more shares, no more—" Sarah smiled triumphantly. This was exactly what she expected. But they didn't know that this was also what Olivia had been waiting for all along. As she stepped out of the Carter house, Olivia took a deep breath, letting the chill of the November evening sink into her skin. She didn't turn around, there was no need. The slam of the door behind her was a statement. Sarah thought she had won. Her parents believed they had just taught their youngest daughter a lesson about responsibility and family. But only Olivia knew that this was the moment she had been waiting for all these years. A text message popped up on her phone as she got into the car. "Mike, all set. Team Singapore is waiting for your final signal." Olivia smiled. They thought she was leaving for a midlife crisis, some aimless adventure? That was ridiculous. They had no idea that she had spent the past year preparing for this moment. Before Sarah could rub her hands in satisfaction at getting her out of the company, Olivia had secretly formulated another plan. She had transferred all her shares to an anonymous investment fund, draining the trust before her father had a chance to freeze it. What they thought was getting away was actually rebuilding everything, but on her own terms. The phone rang again. Marcus W., CEO of an AI company in Singapore, sent a text. "Welcome to the show. Ready?" Olivia started the car, her eyes as sharp as knives in the rearview mirror. "Ready." She stepped on the gas, leaving the familiar path, not lost, but more on track than ever. On the first-class flight to Singapore, Olivia Carter leaned back in her seat, the glass of wine in her hand sloshing. Through the window, the city lights below gradually shrank, as distant as the past she had just left. Sarah and her parents must have thought she would return soon, exhausted and begging for help, but little did they know she had left not to run away, but to take it all. Her phone buzzed, a text from Mike. "Sarah has begun taking over my office. Do you want to activate Project Mask?" Olivia smiled slightly. She had been preparing for this for a long time. Sarah might think she was winning, but in reality she was just following the path Olivia had laid out for her. "Do it," she texted back. Before she left the company, Olivia had left behind a top-secret file, full of software development plans that looked groundbreaking on the surface, but were actually a mess of broken code and inoperable algorithms. Sarah would believe she had found treasure, but in reality, she had just embarked on a technical nightmare. She put down her phone and took a sip of wine. Marcus W., CEO of a leading AI company in Singapore, was waiting for her with the first contract of her soon-to-be-built empire. Sarah could be sitting in Olivia's office right now, smug about what she thought was her victory. Olivia chuckled. They never understood her, and that was her greatest advantage. Sitting on the first-class flight to Singapore, Olivia Carter tilted the glass of wine in her hand, letting the ripples reflect the soft lights in the cabin. She closed her eyes for a moment, feeling her heartbeat calm. She had left, but not as a failure who had turned her back on her family, but as a pioneer entering a larger game. The phone vibrated, a text message from Mike. Sarah just walked into your old office. She opened the top secret file. Shall we activate phase 2? Olivia's lips curled into a small but sharp smile. Sarah thought she had won, thought Olivia was a dreamer who didn't appreciate the opportunity, but in reality, Sarah was the pawn being manipulated. Activate, she texted back. The file Sarah had just opened wasn't an opportunity, but an elaborate trap that had been woven over the past 6 months. Bug-ridden algorithms, seemingly groundbreaking software plans that were just a mess that didn't work. She would rush to fix them, investing all her resources into something that couldn't succeed. Meanwhile, Olivia. She was on a different path, one where she wasn't fixing mistakes, but building a new future. She looked out the window, where the lights of Singapore sparkled in the night. Below, Marcus W., CEO of a leading AI company, was waiting for her. The first deal of her empire was about to be built. In New York, Sarah could be sitting in her chair, smug about what she thought was a victory, but Olivia knew one thing: a false victory was the beginning of true failure. The plane landed in Singapore in the pale dawn, the sky tinged with a soft orange gold that reflected off the tall glass buildings. Olivia Carter stepped out of the first-class cabin with absolute confidence. No longer the overlooked daughter of the Carter family, she was now the one who called the shots. A car was waiting outside, taking her straight to the Raffles Hotel, where Marcus W. had arranged an important meeting. Olivia entered the hotel lobby, still looking like a wealthy tourist enjoying a luxurious vacation. On the surface. But in reality, this was not a vacation, but the first day of laying the foundations of the empire she was building. Marcus waited for her in a private conference room, nodding as she entered. On the table were documents for her first deal, an AI company developing machine learning technology that could change the way global financial transactions were conducted. Sarah opened the top secret files last night, Marcus said as she sat down, his eyes shining with interest. She downloaded the entire database. My team confirmed that they've started integrating the source code. A complete misstep. Olivia wasn't surprised. Sarah had never been able to see beyond the surface. She thought she was running the tech department, but in reality, she was just driving Carter's entire system into a dead end. Good. Olivia sipped her coffee, her voice calm. Let her work on that for a few more weeks. By the time they realize they're in a trap, we'll have completed step 2. Marcus smiled, pushing the file toward her. Then it's time to close the first deal. She opened the file, signing the contract to buy 51% of the AI company. In a matter of hours, the company would officially belong to Chente Solutions. The tech empire Olivia had been building. Just as she signed, her phone buzzed. Mike sent a text. Sarah is pitching a new project to the board. They think she's created something that will revolutionize the market. Olivia's lips curled into a smile. It wouldn't be long before she realized her mistake. A week later, Olivia Carter sat silently watching the screen in front of her from her top-floor office at Chente Solutions in downtown Singapore. It was Mike's latest report. An internal email chain from Carter Group, revealing what was going on behind her back in New York. Sarah was in a false sense of confidence. She had presented the project to the board, promising a groundbreaking AI trading platform. Investors hungry for innovation had poured in millions more to accelerate the process. There was just one problem. The code Sarah was using was completely inoperable. Olivia smiled, her eyes scanning Mike's message. The code is starting to show up. They're working on a fix, but the more they fix it, the more it breaks down. It could be 3 to 4 weeks before they realize the entire platform is a failure. She leaned back in her chair, her eyes sharp. Time was on her side. While Sarah was ruining her reputation, Olivia was making headway. The deal with Marcus was done, and she'd already begun negotiations with a quantum company in Seoul. When Carter Corporation realized their mistake, Olivia would be ready to make her move. Just then another message appeared, from her father, Jonathan Carter. Olivia, we need to talk. Sarah's having trouble with the project, if you can help. She read the message, but didn't respond. It was too late to turn back. Instead, she opened her planning file and began working on the next step, preparing for the formal takeover. 3 weeks later, Olivia Carter stood on the balcony of the Marina Bay Sands Hotel, a glass of red wine sloshing in her hand. The night breeze carried the scent of the bustling city below, the twinkling lights reflecting in her eyes. Everything was going according to plan. The phone buzzed on the glass table next to her. It was from Mike. Sarah's got a big demo lined up for next week. The board is betting everything on this project. Olivia's lips curled up. A big demo? Great. She didn't even have to push them into it. They were going into it themselves. Looking out at the horizon, she remembered the last time she had stood in the Carter offices, a month ago. She had been the irresponsible youngest daughter, the one Sarah and her parents believed would fail. But they had created the perfect conditions for her to disappear from sight, and when she reappeared, she would be in a position they never expected. Another message came from Marcus W. The Soul deal is complete. We now have the full AI platform and quantum systems. Chente Solutions can launch the real platform any time. Olivia took a deep breath. Her time had come. She opened her laptop, clicking on a file simply titled, Phase 3, The Reveal. Meanwhile, back in New York, Sarah was probably sitting in Olivia's old office, convinced that she was about to prove herself. Little did she know that in a few days, everything she had worked so hard to build would come crashing down right before her eyes. And Olivia would be there, ready to deliver the final blow. A week later, Olivia Carter sat in a conference room at Chente Solutions in Singapore, swirling a steaming espresso in one hand while the other skimmed through the latest financial report. She had been waiting for this moment for a long time. A text message from Mike popped up on her phone. Sarah's demo starts in 30 minutes. Their system still hasn't been fixed. They won't make it through this presentation. Olivia leaned back in her chair, looking out the building's wide glass windows, where the sun reflected brightly on the waters of Marina Bay. It was all going exactly as she had planned. Across the ocean, at Carter Corporation's New York headquarters, Sarah took the stage with a blaze of confidence. She was standing before the entire board of directors, investors, and most important shareholders. Today was the day she would prove to everyone that she was worthy of inheriting this empire. But Sarah didn't know that she was not the one in control. The presentation began smoothly. Charts, financial indicators, and analytics appeared on the large screen. Sarah spoke with absolute confidence, describing the AI trading platform she had been developing for the past 2 months, a technology that was supposed to revolutionize the financial markets. And now, Sarah said, her eyes lighting up as she turned to the board, we're going to run a live demo. The room held its breath as Sarah pressed the button to activate the system. 3 seconds. 5 seconds. The main screen suddenly flashed. The system crashed before everyone's eyes. Error codes flooded the screens. Algorithms began to spit out completely wrong results. The system, built from the code Olivia had inserted before she left, was now self-destructing. Sarah paled. The board murmured. Major shareholders began to confer rapidly. Some were already up in their seats, calling their financial advisors. Everything was falling apart before her eyes. And Olivia, across the hemisphere, calmly sipped her coffee. A text from Mike came in shortly after. Carter Group's stock is falling. Board of Directors is calling an emergency meeting. Sarah is removed from the project. Jonathan Carter is panicking. Olivia wasn't surprised. When you put someone in a position of power they can't control, they dig their own grave. And now Carter Group had no choice but to call her for help. Not long after, her phone rang. It was her father, Jonathan Carter. Olivier studied the screen for a moment before picking up. Olivia? His voice was low, strained. We need to talk. She slowly put down her coffee, her eyes shining with a cold light. What's going on, Dad? He took a deep breath. The company's in serious trouble. Sarah, she made a big mistake. We need you to come back and help. She smiled, unhurried. Help? Didn't you say I have nothing to do with this company anymore? Olivia. His voice was low, heavy. We can negotiate. If you come back, we can discuss a deal. She looked at her watch. It was time to play the final card. You don't need to negotiate with me, Olivia said, her voice calm. Because in the next hour, Chente Solutions will announce the launch of a real AI trading platform, and we'll be buying the Carter Group's technology division at a discount. That means you have no control. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. Jonathan Carter was not a man to be beaten, but this time he knew he had lost. A few hours later, Olivia stood on stage at a major technology conference in Singapore, before hundreds of investors and financiers. "People have asked me why I left Carter Group," she said, her voice full of confidence. "The answer is simple. I didn't leave anything, I just built it better." The big screen behind her lit up with the Chente Solutions logo and the official announcement. Chente Solutions has completed the acquisition of Carter Group's technology division for $75 million. A round of applause rang out across the hall. Back in New York, Sarah Carter had left the company, her career all but ruined by the disastrous failure. Jonathan Carter still held the title, but in reality, his company was now just a small part of Olivia's group. A week later, Olivia returned to New York for family dinner. There were no more heated arguments, no more taunts, just calculated silence. Sarah came, but she left early. She couldn't bear to sit at the same table as someone who had so thoroughly defeated her. Her mother, Eleanor, finally spoke up. "Why didn't you tell us? Why did you go so far?" Olivia put down her glass and looked at her parents. "Because if I told you, you would never believe I could do it." No one argued. After dinner, Olivia returned to her office, where the backpack she'd brought on her backpacking trip still sat on the shelf, a reminder that sometimes, to win, you don't have to argue. You just have to let someone else believe they're right, until it's too late. To achieve success and control your destiny, the most important thing is to have a long-term vision, wise strategy, and perseverance. Characters like Olivia Carter or Julia Chen do not rush into confrontation, but they observe, calculate, and wait for the perfect opportunity to act. They do not let others' underestimations stop them, but turn it into an advantage that shows that sometimes, the best way to win is not to try to prove your worth immediately, but to quietly build a solid foundation for success, and when the time comes, make a decisive move, so that when others realize, it is too late to stop you.